Welcome to the Classy Career Girl podcast. I'm your host, Anna Runyon, founder and CEO of Classy Career Girl, one of Forbes' most influential career sites. This is a podcast for a community of women who want to turn their passions into work they love. You'll learn how to become happy, successful, and balanced with class, skill, and style. We believe that you can create your future. So stop delaying your great life. Go put yourself out there. You can have your great life and career right now. Hey everyone, it's Anna Runyon from Classy Career Girl, and I am super excited to replay one of our top downloaded episodes here at Classy Career Girl. Today is a replay episode, but don't worry, I'm going to give you some of my most recent tips from this year as well. But I wanted to replay this episode because it has been so helpful to so many listeners, including me, listening it again. It is about the 7 habits of highly successful women. So we're going to replay that episode for you today, but I also wanted to share something that has been really helpful for me when it comes to being more productive. Now, when we recorded this podcast episode, I didn't have as many kids as I have now, and I have learned a lot over the years how to maintain productivity when life is just a little bit crazy. And so one thing that I have been doing lately that I wanted to share with you all is one of the most important things we can do when life is crazy is to plan out our day the night before, so we know what we're going to do when we wake up in the morning. So here are some ways practically that I do that. And this does not take a long time. It's just kind of a habit and a routine that I've gotten into. So I have a night routine where I write down 3 wins I had today. So I'm celebrating the small wins, the successes, even though sometimes it felt like I didn't get anything done. But I did get something done, even if it's small. And so I write down in my journal, I write down 3 wins and then today, and then 3 wins I want tomorrow, 3 things I want to get done tomorrow. So that way, when I wake up in the morning, I know what those priorities are, because let's face it, we have a million things to get done. But if we can just focus and know when we wake up, those are those top things that we're going to do before we get to all the other stuff. If we have those 15 minutes, we can work on our priorities. So that's part of my night routine. It literally takes 5 minutes. I have an alarm on my phone that goes off to kind of like remind me to do those things in the evening. And then that way I can wake up more focused. So that's really important, kind of planning out. It's not even planning out your schedule. It's more just planning out your focus. So when you do get those breaks of time where you can focus on your priorities, you know what to focus on. You have a plan before the day starts. Then the other thing I do lately is my morning routine. Once again, this takes like 3 minutes in your morning routine. And once again, I have an alarm on my phone that reminds me to do this. I have a journal. This journal is just for this. I write down 3 things. I write down the answers to what I'm going to let go of. So lately that's been not getting much sleep, or if I'm feeling like stressed or frustrated by something, that's usually what I write down there, which is kind of a good way to start the day. Like, these are not positive thoughts that I want to start my day with. I'm just going to let go of that. And then I write what I'm grateful for. Lately, it's a lot about family, a lot about, obviously there's so many blessings that we have in our lives. And so just focusing on the positive, focusing what I'm grateful for. And then I write down what I'm going to focus on today. And because I wrote down last night, what I wanted to focus on the next day, when I wake up, I have this fresh in my mind. And I know, okay, this is the most important priority for my day. Sometimes it's work, sometimes it's personal stuff, sometimes it's kid related. Sometimes it's house stuff. Who knows what it could be? Every day is going to have like a different focus, but at least before the craziness starts, ideally I get this part of my day done before the kids wake up, so I can really start the day feeling more in control, more focused, more relaxed, more at peace. And that is my secret right now to being highly effective, is just having a plan before the day, focusing on what's important when I wake up, and going through those kind of journaling questions. So I hope that has been helpful. That's a really easy tweak. If you don't have time to listen to the whole episode, at least I gave you something right away that I hope can help you. So now let's dive into the rest of the podcast episode. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Classy Career Girl podcast. Today I'm interviewing Dr. Lizette Ojeda. and she's an award-winning psychology expert and an authority on career development. As a tenured associate professor, she teaches career counseling, conducts research on career development, and mentors doctoral students. So she's got a lot of good stuff that we're going to talk about today. She's been nationally recognized for her work and has published in the Journal of Career Development, the Encyclopedia of Positive Psychology, and the Handbook of Career Counseling for Women. She is a licensed psychologist and has helped hundreds of people achieve their career and life goals. As a multi-passionate career woman, she helps high-achieving women have their career cake and eat it too. She believes career women should not have to choose between living their calling and living their life, something we really believe here too at Classy Career Girl. So thank you so much, Dr. Lizette, for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Anna. It's a true pleasure to be here with you today.
Awesome. I love it. And we mentioned right before this call that kind of our topic is going to be about habits of successful women and how you can be successful. So let's start out like at the very beginning. Like, how did you kind of fall into this career development world, and how did you land here?
Yeah, so I've always been a really ambitious person, and growing up, neither one of my parents actually even attended high school. So I always knew that to have a lot of the things that I saw other people having that my family didn't have to have, I saw that the common denominator was, being ambitious in your career and going to college. And I just decided that's what I want. And so I'm just going to go for it. And I didn't stop until I got a PhD. So
Nice. Kept going.
Yeah. And I love learning so much that the best place for me to be was to stay in a university setting. So I love what I do, which is I have a lot of passions, and I feel lucky that in my position, I get to do a little bit of everything. Like I get to teach it, I get to research it and publish on it, and I get to apply it with clients. So I feel like I have a really good career where I stay challenged, and every day is different. And I love pretty much every piece of it. And so it makes me feel fulfilled. And research shows that when you have career satisfaction, you also have life satisfaction. And if you're not satisfied in your career, then you're not going to be satisfied in your life, because look, career, you spend a lot of time in your career. It's a huge chunk of your time. So to me, it's really important that women step up with confidence in their zone of brilliance, whatever that may be. What is it that you do that is incomparable, that is indispensable, whether that be in your 9 to 5 or in your own business, or both? Like me, I have both. I have a private practice, and I also have a career consulting agency, as well as being a professor.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, you're speaking our language here. Career satisfaction is very, very important for us. So what if someone's just trying to figure out what's next in their career? Like, how can women figure out what's next?
Well, this is where I say, so I have like 7 habits of highly successful women. And my number 1 habit is clarity. Like, you have to be so clear on not only what you want, but why you want it. Because if you are not, then you're going to be all over the place. You're going to be spreading yourself thin because you're not laser focused on a specific target. And so that's the number 1 thing that I always tell everybody. Figure out what you want and why you want it. Because when the going gets tough, your why is going to help you stay in the game and stay focused, so that you do achieve what it is you want. So get really clear on what that looks like for you. What does it feel like? What do you wake up doing? What is it? I'm talking about paint a crystal clear picture of it. Like, for example, if you want to go speak internationally, then imagine yourself being picked up at the airport with that sign, going on a limo ride or whatever, and arriving to your hotel room with fresh flowers and being received by hundreds of people in an audience clapping for you. You've got to really involve as much of your senses as possible so that you feel it emotionally and you can visually, feel like you're in it, because then your brain is going to start working towards making that a reality. So get really clear on what you want.
And
Number
I
one
love
tip.
it because you're demonstrating this for us because not everyone can see the video because they might be listening to this audio from the podcast, but your vision board is right behind you. I see it.
Yeah. And even if I don't study it every day, each glimpse gets ingrained in my brain and it gets to work to make that a reality.
I love it. I love it. So, what are some of the other habits?
I would say another one is strategy. So we talked about clarity. Now you have to have a strategy to make that happen. What is the action plan that you need to go and implement that is strategic? And, a lot of times people try a whole bunch of different strategies, and you need to pick one that is aligned with what's going to feel right to you, but also works, because there are so many different ways to do the same thing, right? Not there's different paths that will get you at the same destination. If you want to have like a six-figure business, for example, you could do it through a membership site, you could do it through one-on-one coaching. There's so many different business models. You just have to pick a strategy that's going to work for you and stick to it, because if you try to do a little bit of everything and piecemeal things together, you're going to find yourself really frustrated because you're not getting anywhere. So pick a strategy that it works and will also work for you.
Like, pick one and stick with it. I think too, because I
Exactly.
think there's so much out there that like there's so many things we could do. And if you just dabble, but if you don't stick with it long term and just focus on it, you'll never see the success, which is why it's a huge part of a habit of successful women.
Yeah, and that actually leads into the third one, which is consistency.
Mm.
And the thing is that, and this is a big one, where you start to compare yourself to other people and you see people becoming overnight successes. And that's really not how it works. You only get to see people's front row view of their performance, but you don't have a backstage pass to everything they've been through, their struggles. And so you need to be consistent with what you're doing, even when you feel like it's not working. Obviously, it has to be something that will work. But if you see that it's not working, don't just stop and then switch gears, because you're going to find yourself consistently not getting any results because you're not allowing yourself the time to see the fruits of your labor.
Mm-hmm.
Being
Staying consistent.
Yeah,
And it's so easy to get distracted because there's so much stuff out there that you can look at.
exactly.
Awesome. Okay, what are the other ones?
Yeah, okay. My favorite one is mentality. So having a strong mentality, and that's really all about your inner psychology. A big one here is, your mindset, being resilient, because if you want to have a successful career, you have to be willing to take some risks, and you have to be willing to face potential failure. And failure, the way I see it is it's a learning opportunity. But you have to be willing to step outside of your comfort zone and to have the courage and confidence to go out there and do what it is you need to do to get what you want, including things like doing away with comparisonitis. It goes back to kind of like what I was talking about. You only get to see what's going well for people, and then you start to compare yourself. So that's something that I really try to help women to try to tame as much as possible. We're human. We can't help it. I go through it too. But that's going to hold you back really bad if you compare yourself. Like, stay in your lane, keep your blinders on. Everybody has a different path. Um, and another big one that falls under this habit of mentality is imposter syndrome. I
Mm-hmm.
see this so often. And the interesting thing is that it's so prevalent among women who are already successful. You would think that they wouldn't experience it. But the thing is that because they are around other successful people, then they start to wonder if they're successful enough, or they start to feel like a phony. And they start to get anxious about accepting that promotion, because what if they find out that they really don't know what they're talking about? Right? What if it was a mistake, and then they're going to disappoint people? All these ideas, all these faulty beliefs that we play in our head is what's keeping us from being successful. And so I'm really a big proponent of trying to put your inner critic aside. And it's not like it's going to go away completely, but you have to be able to tell it to shut up, basically.
And I bet this one is where all your psychology training comes into play,
Yeah.
with just the mindset and staying positive. And what would you say to someone who's just like kind of stuck in that like negative mindset? Like, how do you switch it?
Yeah. So it's really easy for us to start spiraling in the what if, what if, what if? What if they find out? What if I screw up? What if I make a mistake? What if they regret having given me this promotion or giving me this opportunity? What if it was just luck? What if they just chose me because they needed a woman to fill the spot, and it's not really because of my capabilities? What I suggest is that you ask, okay, where is the evidence? Where is the evidence that I don't know what I'm doing? And then find evidence that you do know what you're doing. And a lot of times it's hard for us to claim our zone of genius because it comes so natural to us. And that's when you know that you are functioning in your zone of brilliance, when it's so natural to you that it doesn't feel like a lot of hard work. Does that make sense? So, yeah. And so keeping that in mind, that when you're good at something, you don't necessarily have to struggle to feel like you're actually doing a good job. Just because it's not hard for you doesn't mean that you are not working hard enough. It's
Exactly.
because it's your zone of genius, basically. That's why it comes so easily to you. And a lot of times people diminish the value and the worth of that because it's so simple, because it's not rocket science to you. But to others, you'd be surprised. Like, people can't do certain things that come so naturally to you.
So how would someone figure out what their zone of genius is if they don't really know?
I would ask a few trusted people what they feel like they can come to you for. I would also so for example, even if you don't want to ask, you can just think about the last few people that have come to you for advice. What has been the common thread, the common theme? Do they come to you for help with uh, switching career paths, for example? Like, do they come to you when they need to make tough decisions? So maybe you're amazing at problem solving. Now, can you apply that in your career? Um, Also, thinking about like promotions or awards you've had throughout your life, even beginning from kindergarten. Think about like, what have they been for? What is the common theme? What is the common thread?
Love that. Okay, and then someone knows their zone of genius. How do they make a career out of it, right? Like I feel like that's one thing that holds a lot of people back too, is like knowing what you're good at, what you love, what your passion is, but then how the heck do I find a career in that?
Oh, that's a good question. And so you're talking about a career or a business?
Either one. I mean, it's at a point where it's like, should I start a business, or, should I find a job, or like, how do you, yeah, turn it into a career or a business?
Okay. So I have this acronym called VIPs, and it stands for vision. So being clear on what's your vision for your life, for your career. Identity, who are you and how do you want to show up in your career or your business? When people see you, when they come to you, they want to know, oh, she's the person for this. Go to Anna if you need help with this. How do you want to show up? How do you want to be known? And then there's passion. What do you love to do so much that you could see yourself doing it for quite a bit of time? And I don't say for the rest of your life, because you will shift. You will what's the word called? I'm blanking out on the word. Evolve.
Yeah, I love it.
Evolve. You will evolve. Your business will evolve. Your career will evolve. And a lot of times people get stuck in making a decision and making their next move because they're thinking that it has to be for the rest of their life. And it's it doesn't have to be that way. It could be something that you pursue for 2 years, 5 years. You have options. And it keeps a lot of people stuck because they think they have to figure out they have to make a perfect decision. And then the last one was strengths. What are you good at? So being clear on what you love to do, what you're good at doing, and what are people willing to pay you to do. That's if you wanted to apply your passion and your strengths, your skills in a business.
I love that. So do you recommend, I know Strengths Finder is a big one that I love. Like how do they figure out what their strengths are?
Oh, that's a good one. And I want to make a good point here using myself as an example. My number one strength on the Strengths Finder is empathy. And for a long time, I couldn't make peace with that. I said, why can't I be an activator? Why can't I be something not so fluffy? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to embrace my number one strength. How can I use this in my career? How can it benefit others? How can I position myself as a person who is indispensable because of my number one strength? So thinking about, okay, this is my strength, embrace it. Now, how do I go and run with it and apply it? How do I position myself so that people are like, I need someone like her who has the number one strength as empathy? Yeah. So
I love it.
Yeah. For the longest time, I couldn't come to terms with that because I'm like, that's too fluffy.
And there's times too, like I know for me, like there's times when your strengths you can use it too much too, and it could actually be like negative too. But that's a whole other conversation.
Oh gosh,
that we could go down. So let's keep it focused. But I love that you put that strengths is part of it because that's so important to identify what those strengths are.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, since we're talking about the 7 habits of highly successful women, that actually goes into my sixth one, which is boundaries. No, I think that's the fifth one. Boundaries. So, and this is where I've had to learn the hard way because of my number one strength is empathy, that I can't be all things for all people. And neither can our listeners, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you spread yourself too thin, what ends up happening is you don't perform as well in your career, in your business, on the job. And so you don't get the results that you're looking for in the first place. And also you start to feel overwhelmed, burnt out. And if you are not okay, then you can't be in a position to perform at a peak level. So it affects your career, your work, and you. So have boundaries. Something that I like to tell people is that if you say yes to this, what are you automatically saying no to? And Netflix counts.
Yep.
So have boundaries. It's really important.
Yeah, it is, because that leads to fulfillment too. When you say no to the things that are stressing you out. I mean,
yeah. And sometimes people have a hard time saying no because they don't want to disappoint other people. But what I say to that is, imagine how much more disappointed they'll be if you commit to it and you can't follow through successfully. Exactly. Or you have to back out. So.
Awesome. Okay, so we've done 5, and you told our listeners there were 7. So I know if we don't do all 7, that they're good at like checking things off, and they're going to come back to me and say, what was number 6 and 7? So you got to tell us all of them.
Yes. The sixth one is priorities. We are busy women. We've got a lot going on. Some of us have a full-time career and a business and a family. I mean, we have to get our priorities straight. That means being very productive, managing not only your time, but your energy. Make your energy a priority. And I really recommend that instead of trying to do so many things all at once, pick just 1 to 3 max things that you really want to focus on and make that a priority. And going back to the boundaries, right? Like asking yourself, if I say yes to this, how is it going to help me with my priorities, with my number one priority? Is it going to move me forward or is it going to backtrack me? So that's part of being really successful. If you want to be successful at a few things and be like the go-to person, then you have to have your priorities straight and not try to be the jack of all trades and the expert of none.
So important. Yeah. And because if you say I love all your numbers, all of them, because they all go together. If you say yes too much, then you can't make your priorities and you can't succeed at those most important things. So they all flow together.
Yeah. And like the clarity, right? You have to be clear first and foremost. What is it you want? What's your vision for your life? That's going to help you determine what your priority is and how you set your boundaries and things like that.
Awesome.
And
number 7.
Number 7 is your team. That is so important. And I know for a lot of women, it can be hard for us to ask for support, for help. But the last thing that I encourage you to do is to do this alone. Nobody can do this alone. You'll get there much faster and much easier if you have a team. You got to figure out who do you need by your side to get to those goals that you have for yourself in your career. And this can include maybe a buddy, someone who is in a similar path or has a similar vision or is trying to go for a promotion or is trying to build their business. So have a buddy who is at the same level, if not even higher above, like a few steps ahead of you. And then having a coach, a mentor, somebody who can guide you there and shortcut your path to getting there. I know a lot of times people are like, oh, but I don't have the money for it. Well, the truth is that you pay for it one way or another, but you get to decide if you pay with it with money, with time, or with your energy. And I really believe if you don't get a mentor, a coach, you're paying with all three because you're leaving money on the table. You're stressing yourself out, trying to figure it all out by yourself, watching all these webinars, trying to piece it together without having a clear strategy. And then outsourcing. No more playing around on Canva.
Oh yes, outsourcing. we could talk about for days about that one too. And I love too, just like thinking about how important that is too, and how, like, I was just thinking when you said your team, I was thinking like, even someone helping you with your health or your nutrition or like that side of it too leads into into being a successful woman, in my opinion, right? To kind of not even just like work and career, but it's like the support you have in your personal life too.
Absolutely. I have someone who comes and cleans for me. And because that's not a money-making activity for me and it's not fun for me. And so that's something that I outsource. And so figuring out where is the best use of your time and the wisdom that you have inside of you. And for me, it's not cleaning.
Love it. Yeah. And then just the people that can help you within your team too. Yeah. And I love it too, because all of these add into like helping other women too, and like impact, like it ends with your team. And if you do all of these things, you're automatically like mentoring and coaching and teaching your team too. So it just gives back too. So I love that you ended with that.
Yeah. I think that all these pieces go together, and it starts with being clear on what you want, why you want it, knowing what you have to do to make it happen, and creating that space to stay consistent on that path towards reaching your career dreams.
I love
and
it.
Believing that you can do it and having the support to make it happen too.
I love it. So if you missed one, I'll read them again. It was clarity, strategy, consistency, mentality, boundaries, priorities, and your team. Did I get it right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. I'm a big like number checklist type person too. So I love that. I love that you had that all figured out. Love that you have a system down for it. And I think our listeners are going to love it too. So where can people find out more about you, Lizette?
Yeah, so you can go to my website. It's drlizette.com, DRLIZETTE. And I also hang out on LinkedIn and on Facebook.
Awesome. So we always end with like an action that everyone can take. So like what is one thing women can do right now to reach their career goals?
Yes, I would say figure out what's that next goal that you have in mind. Is it a promotion? Is it starting your side business so that you can take your skills to another level if you're not feeling fulfilled? Figure out what is missing and what you want, and then go out there and make it happen.
I love that. What's missing and what you want, kind of like that gap that you're experiencing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. This was great. I really liked your 7 habits of successful women, and I can't wait to hear the feedback that comes in from this episode. I think they're going to love it too. So thank you, Lizette.
Thank you so much for having me, Anna.
If you'd like more help on goal setting and self-discipline, I think you're going to love my free 90-day planner that includes the to-do list that I use every single week. Every Sunday, this is what I do. I no longer buy planners at the store, even though I'm obsessed with planners and I love them. But I created my own, and now I don't need to buy other people's planners anymore. And now thousands of other women are also using our planner too. So you can grab your free 90-day planner and make your goals happen with me at www.classycareergirl.com/free plan.